Good evening. I am Marcelino C. Cullado III, and I am a public school teacher from Pantabangan National High School. So, for this evening, I will try to answer certain questions about literacy. So, first question is digital literacy. Now, the question is in our country, digital literacy is very challenging. As a teacher in this 21st century era and in the midst of pandemic, what is your best innovative technique to teach digital literacy? Why this and how? When it comes to digital literacy, I try my best to apply with the recent trends in education, specifically learning management systems, as well as the use of internet-based quiz applications for my students. So why those things? First off, since this is the pandemic or we are undergoing a pandemic, it will be very wise for us teachers to really use those things, namely online quiz applications as well as learning management system, in order for us to number one enable our students to be aware of those things, and they would be able to learn new things whenever we send them activities via online or via learning management systems and um, by answering their quizzes through their online quiz based or quiz applications or quiz softwares. So the second question would be, the past technology is advancing. The fast we should be learning and needed to be literate in a digital world. What are your ways to share to keep up with this change for the future teacher and students? Also, uh, I myself am a digital native, so I am able to cope up with any current trends in the digital world. So I am able to adapt quickly because I do not fear the use of technology. Whenever there are new technologies available for us teachers, I try my best to learn those things as much as I could. Technology is really fast changing, so in order to really adapt to those changes, we have to learn those things as well as to able to cope up with our learners who are unfortunately very adept at using those kinds of technology. So the next questions would come from media literacy. So share your personal experiences in practicing media literacy in your profession, how it affects your way of teaching and facilitating student learning. So media literacy in my field, personal experiences, I'm whenever media literacy or any audio media available like sample videos and sounds, if it is appropriate for my students, I tend to use them. I try to use it, or I try YouTube is an avenue for me with regards to media or audio video files. So it affects my way of teaching because I try to incorporate the video lessons in my lesson plan or in my daily lesson plan. So there are times that some students like to watch those videos, some will ask for copies of it. So yeah, in a big way, it helps me to explain things to my students in a short span of time. So the videos itself would lend or would give out more explanations, and I, as a teacher, or to facilitate learning, I try to my best to explain or add more tidbits of information to those videos. So the second question is, why is it important to integrate media in education? How beneficial do you think it is? Uh, Integrating media in education is very important, in my on my personal opinion, because it allows us teachers to use other avenues to explain certain topics. So the class would tend to be very boring or uh, very one-dimensional if we only use a specific avenue or uh, a specific way of teaching. If we only use uh, the chalk and the blackboard, what about learners who are visual learners or audio learners? We're leaving them behind, or we're depriving them of the capacity to learn new things as well as new ideas. So how beneficial would do you think it is? Well, it's very beneficial because number one, it allows learners to learn new things or to grasp concepts in a very different way. If they're visual learners, then whatever they're watching, they tend to appreciate it. And if the learner is an audio learner, then he will appreciate whatever it is that we as teachers utilize if we present sounds or audio learning. So next is social literacy. So as 21st century learners become more dependent on technology, how important is it is to make sure that your students interact with other in or in groups. So basically, social literacy talks about that as we depend more on technology, how do I or how important it is that I make sure that my students interact with other in groups as much as possible. If there is an ability for me to conduct activities that they would be in groups, I always do that because I teach my students that they have to work together or in groups. The idea is, or my idea is that they will be more able to number one socially interact with their classmates, and number two, they have a new avenue to learn new things with their classmates or with groups. So that's it. That's my take on it. That they have to work together in order to accomplish a task, regardless of the number one, do not cooperate at first. I always teach them that in life you have to interact with others. That life is not an island. That you have to work together. That's my concept of it. That's my idea of it. So next is creativity. As you were teaching 21st century learners, how can you assure that they always bring their creativity to full potential? There is this certain uh, activity that I always conduct to my students, that's annotation. I always ask them to annotate any reading material. The idea is that if they're able to express themselves through the things that they read, then from that would be my springboard in order for them to unleash or show their creativity in the class. So they have the potential to be creative whenever they are asked to give an opinion on a certain reading material. And they are allowed to do that under my class. What is their concept of what they have read, or what's their, if they are emotionally attached to those things that they have read, are they happy or are they sad with regards to certain characters or certain situations that they read from any reading material. So I use that as a springboard to promote creativity within the class. Next question, number 2, for creativity. During this pandemic, how challenging it to deliver more creative lessons, activities to your students using online modality of teaching? Well, it's very difficult. If the student is not or does not have the capability to be online always, or constantly online. So other than that, we're just using modules. So the through our online teaching, we are able to ask students to show some creativity in their ideas or in their speaking styles, or in their, or the way they answer their modules. That's my only platform as of now. Or whenever I ask them to recite during online sessions, I always ask them. Okay, next question for literacy. Next would be financial literacy. So why is it important to educate young people about the importance of financial literacy? Okay, when it comes to financial literacy, our generation, the majority is, we are not financially literate, to be honest. So and this is also my first time to be asked about this question, because number one, I myself is not financially literate, or people who I know, but I do know some financial stuff, I do know some financial things, but in practice or in real life, uh, okay, I personally can't apply the things that I know when it comes to financial literacy. But when it comes to my students, in educating them with regards to the importance of financial literacy, I sometimes insert life lessons. That's number one, either practical lessons about finances, stuff like that. My take is, it is important to learn those things because they would carry it as they grow older or become more responsible citizens in the near future. Next is multicultural literacy. As diversity grows, how will you teach and encourage your students to be advocates for multiculturalism? Okay, I was once asked by a certain student. I don't know, or I don't remember his when he asked it, but I still remember his name. According to him, why are we studying different kinds of literary articles from different countries? And then and then my answer is, with regards to this question, uh, you are given the avenue that if you understand or if you are aware of certain cultures, then you would understand them, then you would adjust to, to that particular culture. If ever you go there, if you ever visited their country, you would understand their culture and you would accept it. You will not grow to hate that particular culture. You are aware of why and how they act that way. And in order to promote or advocate multiculturalism, I always ask them to understand the context of the characters that they read based on any culture that they are reading. That I always explain to them in that particular culture that behavior is okay. So we need to understand that. We need to understand the context. So that to me encourages and advocates multiculturalism, that we should be open to accepting other people's cultures and beliefs and traditions. Next, what are your thoughts about unity and diversity, especially inside the classroom? Uh, well, I think I already answered that. That I promote it. I promote unity as well as diversity. And to me, my thought about this that if you are able to understand others, we can become united. That we can live in peace and become united, and that the world will be less ugly if we try to apply that. That we are to be more understanding of others' faiths, beliefs, traditions. That I always ask my students to always keep an open mind when it comes to different cultures and different traditions and different beliefs. That alone makes us whole as a person. So next is eco literacy. I think this is the last two. Okay, so eco literacy. Do you think eco literacy plays an important role in lifelong learning of students? Why? Of course it is, because it is the understanding of, I think, it is the understanding of the ecosystem, and that it plays an important role because number one, uh, number one, I'm sorry, this is my first time to do this, but um, important role in lifelong learning of students. So it plays an important role because number one, the ecosystem of or of any student plays an important role in this part of life or in his life. So he has to understand those things, that that whenever whenever he or she travels, he, um hmm? uh, so to me it's very important because it allows everyone to understand natural systems of life on earth. Life on earth. So that's it. That whatever action that they do, wherever they are, it affects others. That's my opinion on it. And how do you promote? So that this is the last question. So how do you promote and incorporate eco literacy into the classroom? Um, if I have the opportunity to incorporate it, I will put it on my values. Uh, Values integration. In order to incorporate eco literacy into the classroom, that we have to take care of the not only the environment but wherever we are on this earth. That we are the ones who need to take care of not only the ecosystem but the entire planet itself. So I hope that future generations would be responsible, that they have something to brag about to their children and grandchildren. So that's it. I was able to answer all the 12 questions, I think, and I hope that you are able to get the gist of what I have just said as well as the context. And see you next time. So, good evening and God bless. And stay safe, wear a mask, wash your hands, socially distance. So, we're still under the pandemic. So, as much as possible, stay at home. So, God bless.